Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so I don't know exactly how to introduce, the concepts or the ideas for this video, so I'll just say it. We're talking about Chris Christie, the elephant in the room, in a more literal sense. Less of a metaphor, and I just finished recording my overall view of the debate, but I gotta record another video here to just talk about, or I guess analyze, the phenomenon that is Chris Christie. After watching an hour and a half of the debate itself, I'm a little bit puzzled, perplexed, kind of questioning myself, what's the point of this guy? I actually don't get it. I don't get his, let's call it political existence, but most importantly, I don't get his existence as a presidential candidate. He's never gonna win. He knows he's never gonna win. He's deeply unpopular, multiple times throughout the debate getting booed into oblivion.
Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
Here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct, okay? Now, and this is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth.
And it's not just Chris Christie as a being that's unpopular, it's clearly the things that he says. He doesn't represent the GOP base. He seems to represent more of an MSNBC kind of like Nancy Pelosi political motive and interest than he does Republican voters. And so I'm sitting back questioning, what is it with this guy? And then of course, it hits me. I'm saying that for dramatic effect. Of course, I already knew this, but I feel like after the debate, I have, visual confirmation that Chris Christie isn't a real presidential candidate, but rather Chris Christie is a bought and paid for establishment goon. He's not actually running for president. He's running for a larger entity's interest, let's just call it. The neocon faction, or I don't know, maybe the corporate establishment monster interest. And I really think that there's something to it. I think it's more organized and more orchestrated than people might think. There's a trend that I really noticed throughout the debate, and I really want to hone in on that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so maybe I'm a kooky conspiracy theorist, or maybe I'm onto something. You tell me. So if I remember correctly, and I literally was just watching it like 20 minutes ago, so hopefully I remember correctly. Otherwise, who knows, I might have Joe Biden syndrome. I think there was 8 people on the stage, and clearly every single one of them neocons, left to right, except for Vivek Ramaswamy. I think we're pretty much all in agreement on that. Vivek is the outsider, the anti-establishment sort of, let's call him a political grenade, kind of like Donald Trump was in 2016. And obviously the RNC powers that be, the establishment powers that be, the Fox powers that be, don't like that very much. They don't like somebody coming in challenging the status quo. I think that is the point of Chris Christie. There's a reason why Chris Christie's entire campaign has no policy proposals. No real stances, nothing new to offer, no vision to offer. It's just, ooh, Donald Trump real bad. Ooh, Donald Trump belongs in prison. He's basically like a larger Nancy Pelosi. I think that's literally his job. And on the debate stage, all he did all night was focus on Vivek. I think Chris Christie is bought and paid for. I think he is political paid muscle. Well, I mean, less muscle and more blubber, not a visible muscle in sight, but his entire purpose was going after Vivek. There was one moment which was incredibly telling. Vivek made a statement around an hour, 12 minutes into the debate, and look at Chris Christie. He's signaling to the hosts and the moderators, me, pick me. And then, of course, Bret Baier does exactly that.
And I find it offensive that we have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the south side of Chicago or Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first. Secure our own border instead of somebody else's. And the reality is, this is also how we project strength by making America strong at home.
Thank you.
We heard the names. Governor Christie first.
All right.
If this was just an isolated scenario, it'd be one thing, but it wasn't. I noticed this an hour and 12 minutes into the debate, after an hour and 12 minutes of Chris Christie always being the guy chosen by the moderators, chosen by the hosts to respond, go after, and attack Vivek. It also seemed like he came a little bit prepared because he had a talking point, or he had, I guess we could call an ad hominem or an insult. Maybe not an ad hominem, maybe not an insult, but more of like a kind of smart response to Vivek, which he pulled out of his back pocket in one of their interactions.
Listen.
I've had it.
Hold on.
I've had enough. I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Come over and give me a hug. Give me a hug just like you did to Obama.
The same type of amateur.
He had that ready. He had that ready in his back pocket to go after Vivek Ramaswamy. And it's funny because what started that whole thing, what started him really going after Vivek, was a comment that Mr. Ramaswamy made. In reference to being bought and paid for, he claimed, "I'm the only person on this stage who isn't bought and paid for." Chris Christie took great offense to that, but I think throughout the entire debate, his statement was proven true because Chris Christie has clearly got someone paying him to go up there to make his entire campaign centered around trying to destroy, sabotage any grassroots candidate representing an anti-establishment worldview. Now, that's my opinion. That's my theory. I'm actually curious if you guys feel the same way or if you guys watched the debate and felt the same way. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm reading into things, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but it's the only explanation. Clearly, Chris Christie, this guy, seriously think that he's somehow gonna woo the country, seduce the country into believing that he's the greatest option. He's clearly, and I mean literally, unfit to serve as president of the United States. We know it, and he knows it. And he's serving some sort of ulterior motive, another purpose. You know, he certainly isn't speaking to Republican voters. When the Krasenstein twins on Twitter are behind you 100%, Brian Krasenstein on Twitter writes, "Chris Christie won this GOP debate in my opinion. When you're winning over the resistance left, yeah, come on. Clearly you don't represent Republican interest." But look, even after this observation, even if I'm right, at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters so much. These neocon fossils, these Republicans of old, let's call them, they just don't have the same influence, the same pull that they used to. And Chris Christie just isn't convincing anybody. And clearly he isn't succeeding in his task to take down anti-establishment candidates in every single interaction between Vivek Ramaswamy and Chris Christie, and boy, there was a lot of them. Vivek mopped the floor with him.
I'd like to get in and respond. Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact. And Chris Christie, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man. And if people at home want to see a bunch of people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country, they could just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think there's much else for me to add in this video. That's my kooky theory. That's my opinion. And conclusion. In this particular video, I urge you, I implore that you write a comment. Let me know what you guys think, if you agree with me, if you felt the same way. I'm going to be reading the comments on this video for sure. That's what I got for you guys on this one, though. If you enjoyed it, then leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know, we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.